Hi, this is Lucia with The Art of Love. Today I want to talk about the number one reason why your ex broke up with you. And I have a comment here from a guy. I'm going to go through that and then I'm going to explain the reason that your ex broke up with you. So he says, my ex was obsessed with me for much of our relationship. Frequently said I was her best friend, her best lover, gave me keys to her apartment after the third date, and her cat was a cat I got her. She was super interested in me, so if interest level is all that matters, she would have reached out. So he's referring to the fact that I say that interest level is the most important thing in a relationship, and when it drops, they break up with you. And apparently he doesn't agree. So he says that she would have reached out. Well, no, because interest level is like the stock market. It's constantly changing. It never remains the same. So just because it's 90 today, it doesn't mean it's always going to be 90. This is the mistake that often guys make, actually, because they take their woman for granted, because the way that guys think, they think, all right, I have the girlfriend, the wife, all right, good. That goal is done, and now I can focus on other things, thinking just because her interest level is high, it's never going to change. And then, of course, when the girlfriend leaves or says she's not happy, or the wife leaves, then they find out, well, wait a minute, they can't just sit back and say, okay, she's happy, she's fine, she's here, she's not going anywhere. No, interest level does change. That's why you have to put effort into a relationship. You can't just assume that your partner is happy and that's it. You can just lay back and just do whatever you want. Continuing on, he says, I went 8 months no contact before dipping my toes in the water with her, and she responded by blocking me on Instagram. Point is, there's more to it all than just interest level. So I responded with, interest level is constantly changing, what I just said. Her interest level was high when you were together, but at some point it dropped below 50. That's why she broke up with you. Well, apparently he was not happy with that answer, so he responded with, I understand that. I'm saying it's not all about interest level, because you figure 8 months of hard no contact would have begun to creep that interest level back up to around 50 or higher. Says who? Just because you didn't contact her for 8 months, it doesn't mean she's automatically going to be more interested. I wish it was that easy. Some people, they've made up their mind that they're gone, and that's it. They're gone. So you can't think, well, I just need to do no contact and she'll come back. Not necessarily. If her interest level had gone way below 50 and she had decided, nope, I'm done, then it doesn't matter how long you do no contact. You can do it for 2 years and she won't be interested. So don't think that, oh, well, I did 8 months of no contact and I didn't hear from her, and therefore it's not about interest level. It is about interest level. It's just that it did not creep back up, as you say. He continues on, especially someone who had such a high interest level in me for much of the time we were together. Again, it may have been high in the relationship, but obviously at some point it went below 50. Otherwise, she would not have broken up with you. And he says, finally, there are other factors, childhood trauma, trust issues, avoidant personality traits to factor in. You're right. However, those are secondary factors. Those are all fixed factors. And the one factor that is not fixed, that's changeable, is the interest level. That's the only one that keeps changing. The childhood trauma, that doesn't change. It happened in childhood. The trust issues, they're not changing unless they have some therapy. So if they came into the relationship with trust issues, they probably still have trust issues. And avoidant personality traits, so avoidant attachment style, again, that's not changing unless you do work on yourself. So those are all fixed factors. But here's the thing. I'm sure there are people that she dated and she had a high interest level in them and she didn't break up with them despite the childhood trauma, the trust issues, the avoidant personality traits. Because she was very interested in them and they somehow were able to keep her interest up despite the fact that she may have had one or more of those other factors. But then she would date someone else, maybe you, where she had high interest and then it dropped. You weren't able to maintain that high interest level for whatever reason. So you can't just assume that it was the other factors. I know that you're in pain and you're hurt, and so you don't want to think that you had a hand in your own demise, namely in lowering her interest rate. And so you go, no, it's those other things. Think about it. When you're really into someone, when you have a high interest level, you let them get away with murder, your partner I'm talking about, right? We all have been there where we have let people behave in ways that if someone else had done it, we would not have let them get away with it. And so it's all based on the interest level. Now, let me prove it to you. Think about baking a cake. And let's say you have 4 ingredients. 3 ingredients are always the same ingredients. But the 4th ingredient, it's changeable. So it can be banana, cherry, raspberry, whatever. So depending on what you put in, depending on the 4th ingredient, banana, cherry, raspberry, it's going to have a different outcome. So it's the same. We have the 4 factors here. Going by what you said, we have the childhood trauma, the trust issues, the avoidant personality traits. Those are all fixed. Those are not just going to change all of a sudden at the drop of a hat. The one factor that is changeable is the interest level. And that's what we have to look at. That's the primary reason why someone will break up with you, or why someone will not break up with you, actually. Because despite having the childhood trauma, or having trust issues, or having avoidant personality traits, if you can keep their interest up, they're not going anywhere. But if for some reason you lower it, they're going somewhere. So I hope I've explained it clearly that the number one reason why your ex broke up with you is because their attraction dropped, their interest level dropped. And that's why it was easy for them to walk away. So if you want to discuss this more, there might be some people out there who will be like, no, I don't believe it. You can do a private session with me. We can discuss your situation. You can contact me at my website, theartoflove.net, and we will send you the rates. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I would appreciate if you would subscribe and like the video if you found it helpful. If you're listening on iTunes, please rate and review the podcast. And finally, remember that love inspires, empowers, uplifts, and enlightens.